No supernatural judgments were being handed down from the far keep, and no keepers were losing their jobs. All of which Marion had survived in the past. She had started making tea, but stopped and shivered at the thought of it. The chaos, the panic, the destruction. Marion had spent more time trying not to remember the details of the past few years than she cared to admit. Now things were finally different. The biggest problems in Gatlin County were pedestrian happenings, like boy-crazy thaumaturge Ryan Duquesne using her powers to break and heal hearts at Gatlin's junior high, or Incubus-turned-caster Macon Ravenwood tracking the location of every Ravenwood on the eastern seaboard while refusing to say why. Aside from these blips on her otherwise quiet keeper radar, Marion tried to stop and appreciate the gentler pace of a librarian's life every chance she could. But today, it felt like the old simplex wall clock's hands were conspiring against her, and she waited impatiently over a pot of Earl Grey French blue mariage frère tea. It was her good tea, loose leaf and still in the tin Olivia Durand had hand-carried back from Paris. Marion generally saved it for holidays or occasions when she knew Ethan Waite's Volvo would be pulling into her cracked asphalt parking lot, which should be any minute now. That old clock has to be wrong. Marion double-checked the mother-of-pearl face on the thin, silver-strapped watch her best friend, Lila Jane, had given her. Seems like 7,000 years ago. At least 2 lifetimes. Marion pulled out a Tupperware container of homemade lilac shortbread, sliding one piece onto each of the 3 mismatched saucers she'd set out on her desk in the archive. At least she knew how to roll out a decent cookie. She wished the same could be said of Lillian English's biscuits, her chicken, her pies, or even her chili Getty. Taking over the cooking in Amma's kitchen wouldn't be easy for anyone, let alone Mitchell Wate's future bride. Still, Marion had been relieved when she wasn't invited to one of Mitchell and Lillian's subpar chicken and biscuit dinners. Now that the engagement was official, there were more than a few tiers of relatives who had to be rotated in and out before the couple tied the knot next summer. Anyway, Marion knew that Ethan would make the time to see her on his way out of town, and she wasn't surprised when the bell on the library door jingled. "Aunt Marion?" Ethan bounded through the door, with Lena right behind him. "Ethan." A hug was the first order of business, long and more articulate than anything they could possibly say to each other in words. Marion pulled back to take a good look. "Let me see you." There he was, her boy, the closest thing she'd ever had to a son. Ethan looked good, if a bit older, in a raggedy sweater and ripped jeans. "You've grown some." Her mouth twisted into a smile. "College kids," she thought. "Amma probably can't stand to check in on him anymore from the other world, with him dressed like this." "Have I?" Ethan left a hand on Marion's shoulder. "Because I was starting to think you were shrinking." Marion swatted him away, reaching for Lena, who was standing behind Ethan. Macon's child. That was how Marion always thought of Lena. The girl was never more than a few feet away from Lila's son, and she looked radiant, how she always looked when Ethan was nearby. That's how these two are whenever they're together, glowing like a string of lights on a Christmas tree. It almost makes you believe love can work out for a person. Almost. Ever since Ethan had returned from the other world, he and Lena were as together as 2 people could be. "I can't explain it," Ethan had told Marion once, "except that I know what I lost, and I don't want to lose it again. Not even for a minute." Marion had understood what he meant the moment he'd said it. She'd felt the same way when Ethan stepped off the water tower. When he died. Only Marion, Amma, and a few casters knew the truth about what had happened to Ethan, that he hadn't gone to visit his aunt in Savannah when he disappeared. It still haunted her. All her knowledge as a keeper and all the books in the Lunae Libri had been useless. I was useless. Lila was the